How could a simple, playful dance at a party turn my entire life upside down? What happens when a bet with friends leads to legal papers delivered to my door, and my husband calmly takes everything I thought was mine? The bass thumped through the loft bar and lounge as I adjusted my black dress, feeling the fabric hug my curves perfectly. At 34, I still had it, and tonight I was determined to prove it. Maya leaned against the bar beside me, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she surveyed the crowded dance floor. "Come on, Zelma," she shouted over the music. "You've been married to Nate for 8 years. Don't you miss the thrill?" I sipped my Cosmopolitan, the alcohol warming my chest. "What are you talking about?" Priya and Tessa crowded closer, forming our familiar circle of gossip and encouragement. Priya's perfectly manicured finger pointed toward a tall, dark-haired man near the DJ booth. "That guy has been checking you out all night. Dylan something. He's a graphic designer." "So?" I laughed, but my heart skipped a beat. It had been months since anyone looked at me like that. "So," Tessa grinned wickedly, "we bet you won't go dance with him. Really dance. Show him what he's missing." Maya pulled out her phone. $50 says you're too chicken. Mrs. Suburban Mom won't risk it." The challenge hit exactly where it was supposed to. I'd been feeling invisible lately, like Nate barely noticed when I walked into a room. He'd come home from teaching, grade papers, and fall asleep watching Netflix. When was the last time he looked at me the way this stranger was looking at me right now? "You're on," I said, downing the rest of my drink. The walk across the dance floor felt like slow motion. Dylan's eyes never left mine as I approached, his smile growing wider with each step. He was younger than me, maybe 29, with the kind of confident swagger that comes from never being rejected. "I was hoping you'd come over," he said, his voice low and smooth. "Just a dance," I replied, but even as I said it, I knew I was lying to myself. The music shifted to something slower, more sensual. Dylan's hands found my waist, and I let him pull me closer than I'd been to any man except Nate in 8 years. The alcohol, the music, the attention, it all swirled together into something intoxicating. I could see my friends at the bar, Maya holding up her phone, recording everything. Part of me knew I should stop, but Dylan's hands were warm on my back, and for the first time in months, I felt desired. "You're beautiful," he whispered in my ear, and I melted a little more. We swayed together, my body pressed against his lips dangerously close to my neck. I closed my eyes and pretended I was 25 again, single and free. The wedding ring on my finger felt heavy, but I ignored it. The song seemed to last forever and end too soon. When it finished, Dylan's hands lingered on my waist. "Can I get you a drink?" "I should get back to my friends," I said, but I didn't move away. "One drink," he persisted, his thumb tracing small circles on my hip. I was about to say yes when something made me look toward the entrance. There, standing in the shadows near the coat check, was a familiar figure. Tall, lean, wearing the blue button-down shirt I'd bought him for his birthday. Nate. Our eyes met across the crowded room, and the look on his face made my blood freeze. Not anger, that would have been easier to handle. Disappointment, hurt, the kind of deep, quiet pain that settles in someone's chest and never really leaves. I stepped back from Dylan so quickly I nearly stumbled. "I have to go." "Wait, what's wrong?" Dylan called after me, but I was already pushing through the crowd. By the time I reached the entrance, Nate was gone. I woke up with a pounding headache and a stomach full of dread. The space beside me in bed was empty, sheets cold. Nate's side looked like it hadn't been slept in. Padding downstairs in my robe, I found him at the kitchen table with his laptop and a cup of coffee. He was grading papers, red pen moving methodically across student assignments. He didn't look up when I entered. "Morning," I said, trying to sound casual as I poured myself coffee. "Morning." His voice was flat, emotionless. I'd heard him use that tone with difficult students, but never with me. "You were up early," I continued, sitting across from him. "Couldn't sleep." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Our 7-year-old daughter Clara bounded into the kitchen, still in her pajamas, breaking the tension. "Mummy, Daddy made pancakes!" I looked at the counter and saw a plate of Mickey Mouse pancakes, Clara's favorite. Nate always made them when something was wrong, his way of keeping normalcy for our daughter while his world crumbled around him. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," I said, helping Clara into her chair. Nate continued grading, his pen scratching harshly across the papers. I wanted to say something, to explain, but what could I say? That it was just a dance, that it meant nothing. The words felt hollow before I even spoke them. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Girl, you were on fire last night. That guy was all over you." I quickly deleted it, glancing at Nate to see if he'd noticed. His jaw was tight, but he kept his eyes on his work. After Clara finished eating and went upstairs to get dressed, I finally found my voice. "Nate, about last night." "Don't." He closed his laptop with a snap. "Just don't." "It was just dancing. The girls dared me and I—" "You what?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. "You decided to grind on some stranger because your friends dared you. What are we, teenagers?" "It wasn't like that." "I saw exactly what it was like, Zelma." He stood up, gathering his papers. "I came to surprise you. Thought maybe we could have a drink together, talk like we used to. Instead, I got to watch my wife practically making out with another man on a dance floor. We didn't kiss." "Right, because that's the line that matters." He walked toward the stairs, then stopped. "I'm taking Clara to my mother's after school. We'll be back Sunday." "Nate, wait." But he was already gone, leaving me alone with my coffee and the weight of what I'd done. An hour later, my phone rang. "Mom." "Honey, how was the party?" "It was fine, Mom. You sound upset." "What's wrong?" I found myself spilling everything. The bet, the dance, Nate's reaction. Mum listened without judgment, making sympathetic noises at all the right moments. "Oh, sweetheart," she said when I finished. "Men can be so dramatic. It was just dancing. Nate's being ridiculous." "You think so?" "Of course, you're a beautiful woman. There's nothing wrong with feeling attractive. Nate should be proud that other men find you desirable. It means he married well." Her words were like a balm to my guilt. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Nate was the one with the problem. But when I went upstairs to get dressed, I found his wedding ring on the bathroom counter, next to his toothbrush. My hands shook as I picked it up, the gold band still warm from his finger. Monday morning at the customer service call center felt different. Conversation stopped when I walked by, and I caught co-workers whispering in corners. By lunch, I knew why. "Zelma, can I see you in my office?" My supervisor, Janet, looked uncomfortable as she gestured toward her glass-walled cubicle. I followed her, my stomach churning. Janet closed the door and sat behind her desk, hands folded. "I'm going to be direct," she said. "There's a video circulating on social media. You're in it." My blood turned to ice. "What kind of video?" "You dancing with a man who isn't your husband. Very intimately." Janet's cheeks reddened. "Look, what you do in your personal time is your business, but when it affects workplace morale and productivity..." "How is it affecting productivity?" "People are talking, Zelma. Some of our clients follow employees on social media. We have to maintain a certain image." I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I nodded and mumbled an apology. Back at my desk, I immediately checked Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There it was, a 30-second clip of me and Dylan, bodies pressed together, his hands on my lower back, my head thrown back in laughter. Maya had tagged me with the caption, "When your married friend still knows how to have fun." The comments were brutal. "Isn't she married? Poor husband. Trashy behavior. Someone should tell her husband." I called Maya immediately. "Take it down," I hissed into the phone. What? Why? You look amazing. Take it down now, Maya. This is affecting my job. God, you're being dramatic. It's just dancing. But she deleted the post, though I knew screenshots were probably already saved and shared. The internet never forgets. That afternoon, I got a private message from Matt, Nate's younger brother. Zelma, I don't know what's going on between you and my brother, but I saw the video. What were you thinking? Nate's a good man. He doesn't deserve this humiliation. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. It's complicated, Matt. Things between Nate and me haven't been good for a while. His reply came quickly. Then you fix it. You don't embarrass him publicly. By evening, I was exhausted from fielding whispers and stares. I came home to an empty house. Nate and Clara were still at his mother's. The silence was deafening. I poured myself a large glass of wine and sat at my laptop, crafting my own narrative on Facebook. Sometimes in a marriage you lose yourself. You become just mom and wife and forget you're still a woman with needs and desires. Last weekend, I remembered who I am. Yes, I danced with someone. Yes, my husband saw. But maybe if he paid attention to me at home, I wouldn't need to seek validation elsewhere. Marriage is work for both people. No apologies. On know your worth. I hit post before I could second-guess myself. The response was immediate and polarizing. My girlfriends rallied with supportive comments, but others weren't so kind. Nate's friends, our neighbors, even some family members weighed in. Then I saw it, a comment from Miriam, Nate's mother. 34 years old and acting like a teenager. Some people never grow up. My son deserves better. I was typing a sharp response when my email chimed. New message from an address I didn't recognize, but the sender name made my heart stop. Nathaniel Roma. The subject line read, "For your records." I opened it with trembling fingers. No text, just a video file attachment. The same video Maya had posted, but this one was longer, unedited. It showed everything. The way I'd approached Dylan, how I'd pressed against him, the intimate whispers, the moment he'd almost kissed my neck. Watching it from the outside, I barely recognized myself. The woman in the video looked desperate, hungry for attention. She looked like someone who'd forgotten she was married. At the bottom of the email, in Nate's careful teacher handwriting, was a single line. So there's no confusion about what happened. I closed the laptop and finished my wine, then opened another bottle. Tomorrow I'd figure out how to fix this. Tonight I just wanted to forget. The summons came in the form of a phone call from Miriam on Wednesday morning. Family meeting. Tonight, 7 o'clock. My house. Miriam, I don't think... This isn't a request, Zelma. You've humiliated my son publicly. The least you can do is face the family and explain yourself. The line went dead. I spent the day in a haze of anxiety and anger. Who was she to summon me like a child? I was a grown woman, and what happened between Nate and me was our business. But at 6:45, I found myself pulling into the familiar driveway of the Roma family home. Nate's truck was there, along with Matt's sedan. Through the living room window, I could see figures moving around. Miriam answered the door with a cold smile. Zelma, come in. The living room felt like a tribunal. Nate sat in his father's old recliner, still wearing his wedding ring, I noticed. Matt was on the couch next to his wife Sarah. Even Nate's sister Julie had driven in from Portland. Sit, Miriam commanded, gesturing to a straight-backed chair they'd placed in the center of the room. I remained standing. This is ridiculous. I'm not on trial here. Aren't you? Julie spoke up, her voice sharp. You embarrassed our brother in front of the entire town. That video has been shared hundreds of times. It was just dancing. Just dancing. Matt leaned forward. Zelma, I've been married for 6 years. If Sarah did what you did, I'd consider it cheating. Well, you're not me, and Sarah isn't me, and... Stop. Nate's voice cut through my rambling. He looked tired, older than his 36 years. Just stop making excuses. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to explain that you've all blown this completely out of proportion. Yes, I danced with someone. Yes, it was closer than it probably should have been. But nothing happened. Nothing happened? Miriam's voice rose. You let another man put his hands all over you while half the town watched. You humiliated yourself and my son. Your son hasn't touched me in months. The words exploded out of me before I could stop them. When was the last time you looked at me, Nate? Really looked at me? When was the last time you made me feel beautiful, or desired, or even noticed? The room fell silent. Nate's face went pale. So this is my fault? He asked quietly. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying... You're saying I drove you to dry hump a stranger on a dance floor because I don't compliment you enough. Don't be crude. Crude? He stood up and I saw a flash of real anger. You want to talk about crude? Let's talk about how my students are showing me videos of my wife grinding on another man. Let's talk about how I can't go to the grocery store without people staring and whispering. Let's talk about how our daughter asked me why Mommy was dancing with the strange man instead of Daddy. My heart clenched. Clara saw the video. Kids at school showed her, 7 years old, and she's asking me if Mommy loves someone else now. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them back. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen, Miriam said coldly, and now we have to deal with the consequences. I looked around the room at their faces, disappointed, angry, disgusted. These people had been my family for 8 years, and now they looked at me like I was a stranger. I think I should go, I said. Yes, Miriam agreed. I think you should. I walked toward the door, then turned back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Mistakes are accidents, Julie said. What you did was a choice. I left without another word, but as I reached my car, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Through the living room window, I watched Nate pull out a manila envelope and place it on the coffee table. Legal papers. The papers were delivered Friday morning by a process server who looked bored and professional. Divorce petition, custody filing, asset division requests. I read through them twice, my hands shaking with each page. Nate wasn't just asking for a divorce. He was asking for primary custody of Clara and a complete financial separation. He documented everything: the video, my Facebook post, witness statements from the party. I called his phone immediately, straight to voicemail. Nate, we need to talk. You can't just blindside me like this. Call me back. He didn't. I tried Matt, Sarah, even Miriam. No one would take my calls. It was like the entire Roma family had collectively decided I no longer existed. By Monday, I was desperate. I called the law office listed on the papers and demanded to speak with Nate's attorney. I'm sorry, but I can't discuss the case with you, the lawyer, a woman named Patricia Goldberg, said politely. You'll need to retain your own counsel. I just want to talk to my husband. Mrs. Roma, I'd strongly advise you to hire an attorney. This is a complex case with significant custody implications. I hung up and immediately called Maya. This is insane, she said after I explained the situation. He's totally overreacting. It was just dancing. He's trying to take Clara away from me. He can't do that. You're her mother. Courts always side with the mother. But even as Maya said it, I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. That afternoon, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I drove to Nate's school and waited in the parking lot for him to come out. He saw me immediately, his face hardening as he approached his truck. Zelma, don't. We need to talk. No, we don't. Everything I have to say is in those papers. You're trying to take my daughter away from me. Other teachers were coming out of the building now, and I could see them watching our confrontation with interest. Nate noticed too. Get in your car and go home, he said quietly. Not until you explain to me how one dance turned into divorce papers. One dance? His voice rose slightly, then he caught himself, glancing around at our audience. This isn't the place. Then where? You won't return my calls. Your family won't talk to me. Because there's nothing to talk about. You made your choice that night. Now I'm making mine. He got in his truck and drove away,